Hello, good people. Dr.shecole here, and I'm going to do something a little unconventional today. I have been doing some filming as it relates to Tupac, and I came across an interview of his when he was 17 back in 1988. Ironically, we were in the same age group and in high school at the same time of this interview. And there were so many poignant questions that were being asked about that generation then, which was my generation, and what we felt our impact would be, and what are some of the restrictions that we are bound by based on what we were seeing in that day and time. And as an educator, it's very important to me that I encourage and leave a footprint for generations to come. And it's very critical that you celebrate young people who are doing it and taking up the torch and doing it in ways that perhaps you never even conceived of. So my good sis in the background here who helps me with my recording is going to ask me a question, and I'm going to do my best to answer it and show you where my inspiration comes from. So go ahead on, Shrab.
Okay, so Dr. Shecole, as you approach your 25th year in education, what is your take on the generation who are in their mid to late 20s, early 30s?
The generation in their mid to late 20s, early 30s, I've been able to tap into a group that I would have never come across if my cousin, who is a seated principal right now going into his third year, I'm a former principal, but I sit on senior level leadership in the area where I am an educational leader. But the 20-plussers going into the 30 realm, very impressive group. I became familiar with this group in another way through YouTube because during the pandemic, I was really into natural hair because I had stopped perming and I just didn't want to go through being restricted to certain societal norms that said this: if you want to be professional, you have to have your hair permed as a person of color. That was just not my bag anymore. So that's how I kind of tapped into YouTube, affectionately calling it YouTube University. And I also came across this group out of the UK called the BetaSquad. And what was so amazing about it, it was, shortly after the pandemic, I really was looking to just find something that was entertaining. Somehow it came up on my feed. And I have to say how impressed I was with YungFilly, Chunkz, Nella Rose, 𝐂𝐿, and a host of others that are in that group. They're all very impressive young men and women. And what I liked about BetaSquad, and in particular, another group I became more familiar with that was in the United States, AMP, several months later, is that they remind me of what Tupac has meant in the realm of rap. They are purists as it relates to being on YouTube. And I know there are many people that have been in the YouTube space for many years, perhaps before them. But these young men and women were in the space as teenagers, and they've been doing it for about a decade. And they are, most of them, I believe, if not all, are multimillionaires, if not that, doing very, 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 very well. And they were able to do that by breaking away from societal norms of education. You have to go to high school, you need to go to uni or college, university, get a job, have a career, and then you're successful. They completely obliterated the mold with that. And they did it as a group of friends that respect one another, care for one another, and want to see everyone win and encourage everyone in their talented space to be authentically themselves. So for me, Dr. Shecole, I liken people like that to being purists in their own industry and space because they represent doing a work that will transcend time. Although being a YouTuber as a career may not be something that you retire from, or maybe it is, but it definitely gives a platform to elevate and cultivate your artistry as a person, whether that be going into music, whether that be going into acting, whether that be going into podcasting, fashion, branding, in whatever industry you feel. They have done that, and they have laid out such a blueprint, much like Wu-Tang did for hip hop They are hip hop purists. They are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They are young men from the hood, and I know in the UK they refer to that as being the ends. They were a group of brothers that would not leave any one of their partners behind. They were rooted in a certain aspect of religion that was, I think, a sect of Islam. I'm not quite sure what, because, you know, back in my day, you know, it was about the 5 percenters and Hotep and things of that nature. But they definitely had certain Islamic principles that they followed and were driven by and anchored in to a degree. And they were all geniuses. If you go back to the lyricism of Wu-Tang, I mean, I can't even, again, going to Kendrick Lamar, same thing. Hip hop purist, intellectually astute, Pulitzer Prize winning. BetaSquad, AMP represent a blueprint to me as a 53-year-old seasoned veteran educator in public schools. They are everything that I would want my students to be, that I would inspire them or plug into them to be. If I were to do a promotion ceremony, I would use BetaSquad, AMP, 𝐂𝐍𝐈𝐒 as examples of being divergent thinkers and not being locked into a societal norm and having one pathway for success. What they're doing in the YouTube space, I think, is amazing. I'm extremely impressed with the charity matches that I've watched. I got into soccer more. I used to play soccer and I broke my foot after I made a goal in high school, and I was like, that's it. But I have an appreciation for soccer now based on their matches that they've done with Sidemen versus BetaSquad and things of that nature. And I know now AMP and BetaSquad are doing a charity match in June. In the UK, what they're doing is phenomenal. It's a lot of cussing for me at certain points. But when I say I can relax and laugh and get a kick out of those gentlemen, and Nella Rose, who is beautiful, amazing, so proud of her as a beautiful African Congolese woman of color. Amazing. She is simply amazing. But to see what they're doing and how proud they are, especially BetaSquad, and this is not anything disparaging against AMP, but what I see that we're missing sometimes in the United States, when you have such close ties to your country of origin, Africa, Somali being Somali, Chunkz being Somali, and Philly being Colombian, Nella being Congolese, and so forth, and having such strong ties to Africa. We as African Americans don't know that because of our because of how the diaspora has us all across the world, and how we have been processed through the colonization and so forth after slavery. Being so connected to your culture and being so connected to that religious practice that is embedded in that culture. Philly, I know, is a Christian, and Chunkz, I know, is practices Islam. To see how they respect one another in their faith walks and how they grow and evolve and help one another without judgment is beautiful. And to see men of color doing that in the YouTube space, phenomenal. Also then connecting with AMP in the United States and the collaboration and brotherhood that they have done internationally, phenomenal. I will support these brothers. Just don't get in trouble, y'all. I mean, keep the brand deals rolling and stay out the news for anything negative. But I would still support, because we all make mistakes, whether we're on or off camera. But I just say that jokingly because I'm going to be a principal and a teacher to my bone always as an educator. But these gentlemen will be and are destined for greatness and will continue to be destined for greatness. They are the examples that I will be referring to as I innovate the space in my current work. using them as points of reference on what can be done. Because we can't dismiss children and disparage them for wanting to be YouTubers and influencers. Because once you have a particular platform that has amassed a certain level, you can shift the culture. I hope everybody in the United States is a registered voter. AMP, you all need to do a voter registration drive and mobilize. Let me get off my sandbox, but you all need to do that. And because what 𝐷𝐿𝐒 did, I think he was running for prime minister, girl. Listen, I think, okay, so 𝐷𝐿𝐒, I know it's yellow and black, but he has a channel, millions and millions and millions of subscribers. This gentleman ran for prime minister and got votes. Like, not like 2 votes, substantial. So that's my point. Laughing and joking and sketch comedy and making money and all of that is phenomenal. And I celebrate them, and they're continuing to do that. But the influence these young people have that we didn't tap into because there was no Facebook until once we got out of college. At least for me, I know you're younger than me. But there was no IG. I mean, MySpace. Girl, MySpace. But we weren't leveraging that way. What these individuals have done and the level of reach and influence they have is unmatched. It is impressive. Cultivate it and always use it for good. I support this charity match, and the fact that I know the match that Chunkz organized, I think he donated that to education in Qatar or wherever it was, but it was for education purposes. And as an educator, I love that to my soul. Giving back, because we have to become more divergent in our practices, because the public school education system, we are losing our children, and we have to innovate the space. And these gentlemen inspire me to continue with my work to do so. And again, much like Tupac, who had to quit that job so he could do that interview in 1988 to talk about his truth and operate in his truth and the legacy that he has left as a hip hop purist. What Wu-Tang, putting Staten Island, Shaolin on the map with their artistry and art form, gentlemen from the ends, their ends in the United States, and they have left an indelible mark on the world today of hip hop. And we gotta love Method Man, but you know, that's just a plug for me because I love Method Man. But what these gentlemen and young ladies have done is truly amazing. I celebrate them. I support them. And you all need to leave Harry Pinero alone. You got to have some wisdom in the group. Everybody can't be 12 in the group. Somebody needs to have the bail money. No, I'm playing. All y'all have money, but somebody has to have wisdom in the group. Y'all get off of Harry and his age. That's all right, Harry, I understand. But the love that these individuals have for one another and how open they are about their spirituality, walking through Islam, and Philly as a Christian, and standing in his truth and being allowed to do so amongst the brethren is truly great. So I will continue to support and use them as examples, as I did with Tupac, as I do with Wu-Tang, when I have the opportunity to teach young children about they are not limited by their circumstances. That's just the beginning mark of where God can take them to. So my people, it's your girl, dr.shecole, just giving these gentlemen a quick shout out and appreciation for how they've impacted me, have brought a smile to my face when the pressure was on, and always getting a good laugh. And Kai, big ups to you with having Kevin Hart, Nicki Minaj, all these folks. But the Kevin Hart stream was amazing, brilliance in motion. And Chunkz and Philly with their podcast, I am a fan. Thank you for having Idris Elba on there. You made my day. And stay tuned. Bye-bye.